Damn, bro, look at what they did to Angel's Ventures. Well, we're gonna honor them with 5 big booms. Boom! 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 Want your idea to be done in a video? Be sure to leave it in the comments down below and I'll be sure to get to it. And if you guys have been watching my videos, you should know that I already have a playlist, just in case you guys want to check to see if there's something I made. But my little scrumptious divers, we are going to be looking at the flamethrower, the torture, and the little pocket crisper. So we got the classic bug annihilator, the flamethrower. And I mean, there's not too much to say, it spits flames. But if you are curious, the standard damage for this weapon is 450 fire damage per second. And does anybody else think it's weird that you can't see the damage per rate thing on this thing? And on the primary front, we have the Flam 66 torture, which is basically the same thing, a pocket flamethrower, but with less damage, and a capacity of 80 with a recoil of 2, like my IQ score. And we have the P72 Crisper, which does the same damage at 375 with a capacity of 30 and a recoil of 2. And wait, don't I know you from somewhere? And if you live under a rock, a flamethrower shoots, well, flames. And be sure to remember, this gun has a startup before it ignites. I only say this because there's been cases where I get too close to bugs and forget that I reloaded it and I have to fire it up again. And when I test this thing's range, 17 meters is as far as I was able to reach stuff with it. And that's only the tip of the fire. Oh. And the torture is basically the same thing as the flamethrower, but made for a primary slot. And it does only just a little bit less damage, being at, 375. But it's still a pocket flamethrower. I mean, come on. And speaking of pocket flamethrower, I yell, pepper spray! And a fun technique to use flamethrowers is if you're in a defensive position, spray the ground nice and thick with fire, and then continue to spray whoever tries to cross it. And this technique is great for killing off small enemies like scavengers and those trooper bots who run through the fire. And speaking of automatons, when the flamethrower goes on the automaton front, it surprisingly does very well, especially against these assholes. Most rushdown enemy units will be surprised to learn that you shoot flames and you spit fire. You flamta, spit fire on that thing. Why did I write? But against things like the Devastator family, those guys walk really slow, so on open maps where they're shooting at you, it can be a little bit more difficult to use the flamethrower, but they all get in the range eventually. And the torture can function the same, it just has a lower ammo amount, so be mindful of that. Fire through the flame we carry, yeah! And against things like the heavy units, specifically the Hulk and the Factory Strider, you can kill them with fire. I'm just a little scared to get close to them though. But when you get close and you start rocking this thing, you can see that it like broke his leg and eventually just killed him straight up. And yes, you can do it to the Factory Strider too. I just had to shoot his chin guns and then get underneath and give his tummy a nice roasting, and I thought I was like, oh, I'm doing nothing. Maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe it's not gonna be good for the video. Holy shit, he died! Moving on to the bug front. This thing was just a certified classic for killing all the bugs, because I mained this motherfucker before it got nerfed, and then they fixed it. But we don't talk about those days. Against the majority of the chaff, the only real things you have to worry about are going to be things like hunters and maybe the spearers, because the spearers will actually get within a range to spit on you, so you kind of have to dodge it. But when it comes against hunters, we all know why these fuckers are annoying. You're gonna fucking And against things like Bile Titans, yes, you can roast him to death, but you have to be very careful because he can spit back. But I find that against the entire rank of chaff, the flamethrower does a great job at just controlling them all, especially when you already got the flame set. And moving on to the Illuminate, I've had an amazing time using this flamethrower against the Voteless. Since they group up like a bundle of sticks, it makes them easier to light on fire. Against the elevated ones, it can be a little annoying once they fly out of range, so that's probably the biggest threat to you. I'm gonna start using Jump Pack to jump at these guys with the flamethrower at this rate. You can kill the Overseers with no problem, but do mind your spacing between them because they might trigger their melee mode, and you know how they get when they start swinging that Q-tip. And this guy died off screen. But against the Overseers in general, this thing will be a nice roast session for them. Calamari, anybody? Against these floaty bastards, don't expect to catch them with the flamethrower too often, since they always kind of sit at a range from you. You kind of have to chase after them to flame them, and even then, it's kind of caca, so you might want to just shoot them with a gun. Your lucky starfish isn't on the menu today. And if you're unafraid of the Harvesters, getting in the close range, you can rock these guys with the flamethrower. And a fun fact, the fire actually ignores the shield. Harvester, you're lightning, my And against the entire force of the Illuminate, flamethrower? Awesome where it's at right now. Sure, we'll see how that changes though when we get more enemy units, but the flamethrower fucks. This thing just shines in crowd situations where you got a bunch of goofy guys who want to come in for a smack. So we're going to be looking at a few things that could be pretty useful for your flamethrower build. First things first, inflammable. Come on, this is a pretty straightforward one, especially if you tend to walk forward while using your flamethrower. Any of the guard dogs will pair nicely with this thing, and if you really want to do some damage, gas guard dog is a perfect buddy to have with this flamethrower because he goes in there and sprays them with gas, so they're constantly wandering in your fire. And a deadly combo I've seen with this, it can also be stun grenades, but EMS strike with gas and fire does some pretty numbers on bug breaches. But this weapon is great. It's the ultimate spray, and no, not you!